Testing, testing. Can everybody hear me? Woo! Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we are gonna get started here. That's okay, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming to our presentation today. We're really psyched to see all of you here. This is a great turnout. Before we get started, we're just gonna do a quick language acknowledgement because we've got some interpretation going on today. So I'll pass the mic over here.
Buenas, ay, está muy fuerte. Buenas tardes. Hello, everybody. Vamos a estar haciendo interpretación simultánea, así que todas las personas que nada más hablen un idioma van a necesitar un audífono. We're going to be doing simultaneous interpretation. So anybody that is monolingual are going to need a headset. Esta es la manera para que todos podamos escuchar y aprender uno de los otros en el idioma en los que nos sentimos más confortables. This is a way that we can all participate and be comfortable in the language that we use. So everybody who's monolingual English speaker or Spanish speaker is going to need a headset. So todos los que sean nada más hablen español o inglés van a necesitar un audífono para escuchar. Estamos en el canal A and we're going to try it out right now. We're on channel A and we're going to test it right now. ¿Hay alguien que necesite un equipo de interpretación? Is there anybody that needs a interpretation equipment? If we can have folks help pass it out. Y también vamos a hacer unas señas para que nos ayuden a nosotros a interpretar mejor. Si estamos haciendo estas señas, si me ayudan a hacerlo ahorita, if we're doing this sign, it means speaker, please speak louder. Personas, por favor, hablen más recio para que podamos interpretar. Si hacemos esta seña, esto significa, por favor, hablen más despacio. If we do this sign, it means please slow down. And if we do this sign, si hacemos este signo, es paren por favor. ¿Ok? Paren por favor. Por lo regular es para cuando hay más de una persona hablando. Por lo regular regularly we do this when there's more than one person speaking because we only need one person speaking at a time so we can interpret. So una persona que hable a la vez para poder interpretar mejor. Gracias.
Sweet, thank you so much. We are really excited to be here today. My name is Olivetina and this is Danny. We are members of NOlympics, which is a volunteer-based organization that completely opposes the Olympics and is trying to cancel the Olympics in Los Angeles and more broadly, the Olympics everywhere. And so before we jump into our presentation about the NSSE, how many people, just by a show of hands, knew that the Olympics were going to happen here in Los Angeles in 2028? All right, awesome. Seems like everyone here knows about it, which is great. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna adjust real quick. Sweet, yeah, that sounds a lot better, thank you. Yeah, so I guess for everyone here who knows about the Olympics, what do you guys think about them? Like, what is your perception of the Olympics? If you are willing to share, we would love some people to just share what they know or think about the Olympics. Well, you all know about it, so I hope you all have an opinion about it. Yes, please. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right here in the front.
I would say I shared the same kind of like wonder for it, and even since I was young, um, had wondered kind of emptily, like, how do they do that? Where do they build it without like having language to think about displacement and things like that? Um, so just like growing older and thinking about it happening every year on a cycle everywhere around the world is just like hard to fathom kind of and super nice.
Oh, thank you. No, yeah, thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have any perception?
Cuando yo era más joven y tú fueras las últimas Olimpiadas de Los Ángeles, me gustó la idea porque me sentía hasta honrada de estar en ese ambiente, pero ah, ahora en este tiempo y como estoy pasando los problemas que están sucediendo en la ciudad y estamos pasando por una gentrificación en el área, porque nosotros vivimos en Flower Drive, que está inmediato, donde están todos los, el coliseo. Entonces, pues me parece que es más bien una máquina en contra de los vecindarios menos, ¿cómo digan? Menos afortunados de tener un espacio en otro lugar o más donde vivir en un área donde hay más dinero, donde no va a haber ninguna preocupación para el vecindario. Entonces, a mí me parece que esto es más un terror que un gusto. Y por eso es de que nosotros estamos en Flower Drive, estamos en contra de las Olimpiadas. No queremos Olimpiadas ni en Flower Drive ni en ningún lado. Precisamente porque lo mismo que pasó en Flower Drive está pasando en todas partes donde hay Olimpiadas. Y los deportes son buenos, pero sin que desplacen ni lastimen a nadie.
Wow. No, yeah, I mean, if you want to. Yeah, no, that was so powerful. I mean, she just said that when she was younger and the Olympics came to Los Angeles, that it was shown in a really good light. It was something that she was really excited for. And now, in today's times, it's really not something to be celebrated. It is something that really, really just negatively affects so many people, and specifically the people of Flower Drive who have been directly impacted by Olympics building. And it's just a machine for continued terror on communities that they don't want here. So thank you for sharing. That was really beautiful. So yeah, clearly we can see that the Olympics are not great, and I don't think that we'll have an issue with this, but just to further get acquainted with our neighbors and our comrades here in this space with us today, we would love if you could just turn to your neighbor, someone who is either to the left or right of you, and just discuss if you can think of a time when you changed your mind about a topic or an issue and what specifically made you change your mind. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes to discuss and then we'll share again. All right, everybody. Let's wrap up those conversations. All right. We love how chatty everyone is. Awesome. Well, it sounds like there were some good conversations going on out there that are probably still continuing right now. Does anyone want to share their conversations with the group? We would love just like one or two people just to share their examples of things that they have changed their mind on. Totally. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And we'll just get like one more person to share something that they've changed their mind on. Right over here.
Well, I changed my mind actually about the Olympics. And
Woo!
right, because when it was actually all the work that was done and all the research papers that I saw done in Brazil in the last Olympics that actually changed my mind. I didn't think it was like, I like sports, I went out to see whatever, sort of like I was thinking like, what exactly the thing, but then I read all the great work that you guys did and all the research quick and how nothing changed for people, and especially in Brazil, people were struggling and how like what they built there for and it really couldn't, it wasn't for any sport for themselves. Anyway, I could go on and on, but that's what made me change my mind about actually joining the coalition and being part of that.
Awesome. No, yeah, thank you for sharing. Similarly, I think a lot of people at NOlympics have a similar story of being like, oh, okay, sure, the Olympics are fine. And then turns out they're not. And especially with the NSSE designation that LA28 has, it's just bound to be a mess. So let's get into it. Danny, you want to take it from here?
Thank you, Olive Tina. We're gonna get into the meat of it. What the fuck is an NSSE? As you can see in the images on the projector, we have some examples of some NSSEs. The 2026 FIFA World Cup, the LA28 Olympics and Paralympics, and the most recent Super Bowl that was held in New Orleans. What do they all have in common? They are national special security events, or NSSEs. These events don't have to be only sports events. They're any event that the Department of Homeland Security, who we're going to refer to as DHS for the rest of this presentation, designates as an event that could draw political protest, terrorism, or some other type of criminal activity. It's the highest level of security designation that we can give an event domestically here in the United States. And what it does is it brings in the resources and collaborates between all of the levels of government, local, state, and federal. Other examples would be Democratic and Republican national conventions, Trump's birthday military parade thing that happened in June was an NSSE. inaugurations, and some funerals. The biggest takeaway is that everybody and their grandfather and their grandmother is involved in the National Special Security event. So, as we've seen here in Los Angeles in the past couple of months, we've had all kinds of three-letter federal agencies here on the ground. We've had ICE, we've had the FBI, we've had the US Marshals, we've had Customs and Border Protection, and all of those folks are gonna be here through the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics. And it's not just them. We're going to have other local police departments, other local sheriff's departments. They could be coming from other areas of California, and they'll be coming from out of state. The US Secret Service is the guy at the top of all of this, and they will be running the show. All sorts of security agencies will be involved, and I'm going to call this a security orgy. Things from private security services to AT&T and Verizon, the Department of Health, the ATF, the CDC, FEMA, pretty much anything that has an acronym or has something to do with a security apparatus is involved in this orgy. It's their favorite thing. It's the height of security. It is the epic bacchanal of security. And we have it here today in Los Angeles. Oh, come on. Usually, an NSSE designation lasts for as long as the event lasts. That makes sense. Sometimes it's 6 to 9 months before the event. That's when the memorandum of understanding is reached, then they start planning, and then the event occurs. We have the very ignoble and disastrous pleasure of having an NSSE designation for longer than has ever been granted. Our dear mayor, Karen Bass, asked in January of 2024, please, federal government, please come give us your resources for June, August, and September of 2028. That is 4 years in advance. So even though you may not have known about it, we have given permission for the federal security orgy to be in Los Angeles since last year. And they've been here. Thanks, Karen.
So why do NSSEs exist? In order to understand this, we have to go back to the Atlanta 1996 Summer Olympics, which were seen as a catalyst for urban renewal by the capitalist class. It was really seen as an opportunity to get rid of Black and brown communities and to terrorize and target those communities. The city was able to use eminent domain in order to seize and demolish a ridiculous amount of property from primarily Black communities such as Vine City and English Avenue, and over 30,000 Atlantans were displaced from their homes and 9,000 people were illegally arrested. There was also the Red Dog Anti-Drug Task Force, which was originally created in the 70s as a part of the quote-unquote war on drugs. And this task force got an immense amount of funding throughout the preparation for the 1996 Olympics. Sorry, there are so many Olympics in my head. They're getting all messed up. But this anti-drug task force was really, really brutal and had an incredibly tough approach on crime and had devastating consequences for all of Atlanta. And in fact, the Atlanta PD and the Olympic ambassadors, which were a privately funded group in 1996, actually worked together to target unhoused people and to get them off the streets in order to prepare for the Olympics happening there. So there unfortunately was a bombing at the 1996 Olympics. This is the Atlanta Centennial bombing. It happened on July 27th, 1996 in Centennial Olympic Park. And this Olympic Park was specifically designed to be the town hall of these Olympics. It was designed to house, or not house, but to have a lot of people there, to have mass groups of people, and a homophobic pro-birth fanatic took advantage of this huge group of people being all in one place and placed a pipe bomb during a late night concert. He placed it under a bench, like next to one of the speaker systems, and actually tipped off the FBI about it 18 minutes before the bomb went off. A security guard actually found the bomb and also tipped off the FBI and brought in a bomb squad, and the bomb still detonated 2 to 3 minutes into their evacuation efforts. Unfortunately, 111 people were injured and 1 woman was killed, and the Olympics still continued. The game still continued, and because of this terror attack that was done during such a huge global spectacle event, Bill Clinton then established NSSE procedures as a part of Presidential Decision Directive 62 in 1998. And this is honestly pretty egregious because the Atlanta PD saw a massive swelling in their budget and in their funding. And the Atlanta Olympics, even though this was pre-NSSE, had FBI there, had DHS there. They had so many different security agencies already there, and they still were not able to prevent this bombing from happening, even though they were tipped off, even though they had all the resources. It's clear that more security doesn't actually do anything.
And it's no surprise that that is also true for the 1984 Olympics that were held here in Los Angeles. So we're going to talk a little bit about our history. And again, even though this was before 1996 Atlanta, we can already see the beginning of the patterns of increased enforcement, militarization, targeting of vulnerable populations, because that's just what these mega events bring. For example, there was a unit in the Los Angeles Police Department that was called CRASH, which stood for Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums. Street hoodlums. Who were street hoodlums? Black and brown people. And the point of CRASH was to target enforcement basically against black and brown youth. And when the Olympics came to town, CRASH saw a drastic increase in funding and resources, because who else do we want to get off of our streets and make sure are not shown on our televisions than the people who are actually living and walking around in Los Angeles? So CRASH was not, as our compañera mentioned earlier, they were not walking around the affluent neighborhoods. They were going around areas like the Coliseum and other places where these events were taking place, and the surrounding communities were made up of poor or working class people of color. As we are seeing today, and we'll talk about a little bit later, they racially profiled people, and they just picked them up to get them off the street because they were undesirable for our pretty sparkly image that we want to portray as a city that is hosting the Olympics. There was also sweeps of alleged gang members. Gee, where have I heard that before? Apparently they're hanging outside Home Depot right now trying to get work, because that's who CBP is currently targeting in their sweeps. They, at the time, what was called Immigration Naturalization Service, the INS, also targeted undocumented folks, particularly undocumented taxi drivers outside of LAX. The whole goal of this, right, is to clean up the city. It was in 1984, and President Donald Trump in 2025 has also said that his goal is to come into Los Angeles and clean it up. That also includes targeting unhoused folks. And the sweeps in 1984 were horrific, just like they are today. Around this period in the 80s is when we started to see the implementation of laws that started restricting the public's use of public space. So we're talking about banning the use of streets for habitation. If that sounds familiar to you, it's because it's like 4118 that we have here in Los Angeles. Basically, you can't exist publicly in a public space without being at risk of arrest. These laws barred people from living in their cars. It banned sleeping on bus benches. Lots of things that we continue to criminalize today. And they were implemented in this period leading up to, during, and after the 1984 Olympics. There were sweeps where folks were sent to detox facilities, or sometimes we just stole all their stuff and kicked them out, which we still do today. There's a quote from the LAPD captain at the time that says, "We are trying to sanitize the area." And this is a narrative that is repeated over and over and over again throughout all of the Olympics, and really throughout all of the mega events and NSSE events. The goal is for the city to portray itself as some shining beacon of modernity and humanity, and anyone whose presence is going to directly contradict that image is going to be removed from sight. Operation Hammer is another example here in Los Angeles of how these crackdowns happened. In all, almost about 25,000 Black youths were arrested. There was one weekend where almost 1,500 people were arrested. One weekend. Does this kind of sound familiar? Police brutality complaints rose 33% during the Olympics and in its aftermath. However, some people really like enforcement, and they really like cracking down on people that live here. Some examples were church groups and other affluent neighborhoods, and they said, "We love this Olympic enforcement. Keep it. Keep all of those undesirables out of our neighborhoods." Our own Maxine Waters actually asked the mayor at the time, Tom Bradley of LAX International Terminal fame, to continue providing Olympic-level support policing on a regular basis. And finally, gee, where have we seen this? There was also the military, federal agents, National Guardsmen, sniper teams, hostage rescue teams, 100 military helicopters on standby. At the time, it was the largest peacetime operation that had been assembled. I say at the time because we are currently living our invasion, and we don't know what's going to happen next, right? We have seen already the federal orgy, the security orgy. I'll stop saying federal, it's not just federal. Federal, state, local, out of state, out of town, security orgy here in Los Angeles already.
So, what can we expect for the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympic Games? Back to Danny.
I should ask Gigi to sing this, but I'll do it. How many problems mega events got? A lot. How many problems mega events got? A lot. I'm not here to sing. I won't do that again. That was terrible. Just as a brief reminder, you may remember that the 2019 Super Bowl, something very crazy happened, which was that the very famous rapper 21 Savage was detained and arrested by ICE. Does anyone remember that happening? It was kind of wild, right? Nobody knew that he wasn't from the US, actually. He'd been here for so long, touring for so long, repping Atlanta for so long, that people had no idea he was actually from the United Kingdom and was what we in immigration parlance call a visa overstay. He had come here on a visa, stayed past the date that it expired, and nobody really realized that he was only touring domestically and never went to tour internationally. ICE did a targeted raid against him, picked him up, held him in a detention facility for a week. He was able to be granted a bond, paid that, and then got out. Happy news, today he is a lawful permanent resident of the United States, and he will be eligible to apply for citizenship in 2028. But that's just a little idea of one of the things that we can expect. In addition, we're looking into the expansion of policing. LAPD has asked for 3,000 more officers, as if there weren't enough of them already. The Sheriff's Department, 500 more deputies. They want to use these mega events, including the World Cup next year, to increase not only their numbers, but also their budgets, which is something that Karen Bass has been very willing and happy to do. In fact, we also got $1.6 billion from the big, beautiful, bodacious, whatever bill thingamajigger that passed a couple months ago. The problem with that is that we're actually not totally sure we're going to see that money. And that's because of how fickle our current federal government is. On one hand, we have Trump saying, I'm so excited to lead the Olympics. And on the other hand, he's saying LA is a liberal city that needs to be taken over. So will we see this $1.6 billion? It's kind of unclear. And our city administrative officer last month put out a report that said we are at risk of being $1 billion in the hole as a city if we do not get that type of funding. So all of the overtime that LAPD is going to have to put in to work these mega events, we are going to have to pay for. And it could cost us somewhere in the area of $1 billion. We're also seeing with mega events that they create a sort of state of exception. Well, normally we wouldn't add 3,000 more officers, but we have to right now, right? Normally we wouldn't say you can't sleep on a park bench, but we have to right now and we have to pass it right now. So we're going to start seeing a lot of stretching of things that normally wouldn't fly under normal circumstances. That also includes the use of out-of-state police departments. And in a horrific co-optation of our language, they call this mutual aid. For example, during the 2024 Republican National Convention, some cops from Ohio went into Milwaukee and killed someone. There's nothing to stop that happening here. We're going to have police from all over coming into Los Angeles for the World Cup, for the Olympics. We already saw a lot of police forces from out of town in the past couple of months. And let's be real, it's not like LAPD has like super awesome relationships with us and we like to have coffee with them and they treat us so good, right? But they're a little bit more accountable to us than people coming in from out of state. We don't need even more police that aren't going to respect us, but that's what we're going to get. And that's not including at least $1 billion of federal security agencies. And this, I think, is a crucial place to point out why an NSSE designation is so highly sought after. Why did Karen Bass say, pretty please come here 4 years before the event that I'm hosting in my city? And the reason is the money and the resources. Now we get the security apparatus of the federal government running our security here in Los Angeles. All of their fancy tools and technology, all of their manpower, the communication channels that they already have amongst themselves are now here and part of our security structure. As I said before, the US Secret Service is at the top of this chain of command, and they are running the show. And we are here saying, thank you, hallelujah, you have given us all of your resources. Now we can go enforce, enforce, enforce to our heart's content. This collaboration, I'm sure I don't need to say to you, but is already happening. And we can see that in these photos. You have the California National Guard holding people back and allowing ICE to make arrests. You have the Department of Defense affirming that there were US military troops on the ground helping with immigration enforcement. And you have California National Guard members walking side by side with LAPD. Although Karen Bass says up one side and down the other that they are not working together, I don't know, man, I beg to differ. And we also comes with that our violent repression of our speech and dissent. So Karen Bass showed up to a couple vigils after some of our worst ICE raids, and she said, we do not stand for this. We don't want the federal government here in Los Angeles taking over. I only want my police to hurt people. She didn't say that part. And we don't like it that the federal government is here. She didn't really acknowledge, oh no, the video is not, I see why people were making funny faces now. There's a video there. I'll tell you all about it. So there were a lot of protests downtown, right? Especially in June. And there was tagging, there was looting, people threw stuff back at the cops because the cops were tear gassing, pepper spraying, firing off flashbangs, all sorts of good military tools used against our civilian residents. As ABC 7 had a helicopter flying over downtown and was showing folks out after curfew, expressing their discontent with everything that was going on, Karen Bass came on live with ABC 7 and said, we are 1 year away from the World Cup. How could this be happening? And she was not talking about the presence of the federal government in our communities. She was talking about us looting stuff and tagging federal buildings. Because how could we possibly be doing anything to disrupt the narrative of our pretty shiny city that's about to hold the World Cup? This curfews, the use of pepper balls and tear gas is just the beginning, because we know that we are going to stand up and we are going to fight back even harder in the next coming years. And the state's response to that is going to be proportionate, if not disproportionately over the top. So unfortunately, we have even more repression to look forward to, especially because they're getting a lot more money for a lot more military toys. Yay!
Oh, there it is. Sorry, it was there the whole time.
Oh, okay. Well, my voice was better. We also have to worry about facial recognition. Why do we have to worry about that? Because the lovely gentleman there who is smiling with two of his best buds really wants to use our faces as our tickets for the Olympics. Already back in 2001, for the Super Bowl, we started using facial recognition technology and biometrics as a way to enter sports venues. Currently, SoFi Stadium, which is the one in Inglewood that is in so-called Hollywood Park, which is a 300-acre area of music venues and apartments and shops and all kinds of things. Their policy statement currently says that they can record you and monitor you using facial recognition however they want. So that is a risk that we have already undertaken because of the venues that are here in Los Angeles and their use of technology already. And it's only going to get worse. This facial recognition is only going to increase. You may have heard that during some of the raids in June, an LAPD officer out of a helicopter was heard saying, "Okay, protesters, go on, get in your cars and go home. I know where you live because we have facial recognition." So this is a tool that the state is actively bragging about being able to use on us. And they're going to share the data that they get from it. There's already data sharing between local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and federal law enforcement, particularly if you're familiar with jails and prisons sharing information with ICE so that ICE can pick up people when they've been released from criminal custody. Again, only going to be amplified. Our LAPD police chief even said all of the crimes we investigate could be in partnership with federal agencies. It is a partnership, and without that partnership, we wouldn't be able to go into the World Cup, the Olympics. And of course, we are expecting that ground zero for a lot of this data collection will be in our Black and brown communities. We have already seen a lawsuit and a temporary restraining order against the federal agencies for their racial profiling. There is absolutely no reason to think that that is going to stop them and that the racial profiling will cease to occur. So we need to gear up and be ready because everything that we are experiencing now could really just be amped up on steroids. This is happening. It's happening all the time. It's happening now, and it's only going to get worse. The Border Patrol El Centro Sector Chief, he's the guy that wears the cowboy hat when he goes out on raids, when he's embedded with Fox News reporters. That guy. He said, "I don't work for Karen Bass. Better get used to us now, because this is going to be normal very soon. We will go anywhere, anytime we want in Los Angeles." Again, they are racially profiling. They don't really care what your citizenship is. They will pick you up if it serves them to do so. That also counts for increasing sweeps of unhoused folks. Just at the end of last month, Karen Bass did her Inside Safe program. This program allegedly takes people from the street, gives them resources, and places them in temporary housing and motels. She chose to sweep what was called the Compound, a community of unhoused folks who had been living in Van Nuys for 2 years, and put them in her Inside Safe program. The problem is that really only about 20% of people that get taken in this program actually end up with some form of permanent housing. The vast majority of these folks end up back on the street, sometimes that very same weekend, except with one crucial difference. They got all their shit taken away. because one of the big premises of this is that LA Sanitation is going to come in and they're going to clean up the area, sanitize, and throw away everybody's stuff. We saw it in 1984. We see it again today. The picture of the tent that you see up here is the tent that the city of New Orleans moved their homeless population into for the Super Bowl. They basically showed up to encampments and said, hey, you're in this area. If you don't come with us right now, then we're gonna go dump you in the middle of nowhere. But if you come with us right now, we'll dump you in the middle of nowhere in our tent. And that's where they moved the undesirables from view during the Super Bowl. We will also see an increase in criminalization and harassment of sex workers. This is something that police love to talk about. They can't justify their presence for really any other type of crime, and so they like to say, hey, these mega events, they're really a hotbed for human trafficking and sex trafficking, and we're gonna stop them. The problem is that what happens is that instead they usually pick up and arrest people for solicitation. And then those people end up with criminal charges. And they're not being saved from sex trafficking. We're just criminalizing more people that live in our city. So there's a lot of sensationalism around this. And you can see it oh so clearly with the custom pins that LAPD created and handed out to their fellow law enforcement in the 1984 Olympics. They bragged about being pimp busters and getting rid of all types of vices. In sum, we have a lot of really shitty things to look forward to, and it is incredibly important not to get disheartened. We're gonna come up. We're down here right now. We are gonna come up, I promise. But also just to be realistic about the situation that we've invited ourselves into. We have an NSSE designation through 2028, and these are all of the consequences of that invitation.
Now, I know what everyone is thinking. Will it really be that bad? Will it really be that bad? I mean, history has shown us that it's pretty bad, but like, is it gonna be that bad? And the answer to that question is found in taking a look at who is actually going to be responsible for security and for putting this all together. We have first the task force on enhancing security for special events in the United States. This was created earlier this year in May to maintain oversight of security preparations for a slate of large-scale international events, which includes the 2028 Summer Olympics, the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, the Ryder Cup, and the 250th anniversary of the United States. And we, oh, thank you.
30-second pause for recharging batteries.
Oh, okay.
Vamos a cambiar baterías al transmisor. Por favor, quítese los oídos porque van a hacer mucho ruido. We're going to change batteries on the transmitter, so please take them off your ears because it's not noisy enough to say.
Also, feel free to take a stretch break in this moment.
Yeah, this is a long one, sorry.
There are some waters back here in a brand cooler.
Okay, just kidding, you have to sit down now.
No, that's okay. No, thank you for letting us know. Once everyone's back in their seats, take your little stretch break. We are good on interpretation to continue. I mean, I'll just quickly mention something about it, and then we can move forward. I'm chilling. All right. Everyone hydrated? Everyone got a snack? A little stretch? Thank you guys for pulling through this. I know it's hot. I know it's a Saturday afternoon/evening. Like, thank you very much for staying strong throughout this. We're happy to be here. Okay, I'm just gonna slowly ease our way back into here. So this task force, as we were just talking about, it was created in May of this year, specifically to maintain oversight preparations for big mega events such as the LA 28 Olympics, the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, the Ryder Cup, and the 250th anniversary of the United States. Big boo, big boo. And we can actually already see that this task force is not actually keeping the safety of residents in mind, because with the FIFA Club World Cup in 2025, earlier this year, which was held in Florida, Customs and Border Patrol / Protection actually put out a post saying that they were going to be suited and booted, ready for the World Cup to detain people and to harass and criminalize immigrants. So already a bad start. But we can take a closer look at who the hell these guys actually are. So right up top, we've got Chairman Michael McCall, who is married to Linda Mays McCall, who is the daughter of the founder of Clear Channels Communications, also known as iHeartRadio. So he very clearly has a very big stake in media and media interests when it comes to his position on this task force. He also supported Trump's plan to build a wall on the Mexico border back during Trump's first term, and he voted against the creation of an independent commission to investigate the January 6th participants. So, bad guy. I don't trust him, and I don't think any of us here should. Carlos Jimenez closely cooperated with Trump's escalation of ISIS presence in Miami-Dade County in 2017 when he was mayor there. He then was endorsed by Trump when he ran for Senate in Florida in 2020. So yet another guy that is very clearly in Trump's back pocket. And the same can be said for these next two people, Dale Strong and Eli Crane. Dale Strong is a huge Trump supporter with a specific emphasis on border control, and Eli Crane is a former Navy SEAL who has publicly spouted Trumpian conspiracy theories and misinformation. So, not a great group of people. But moving even further down this task force, we've got ranking member Nellie Poo, who, honestly, her name does her justice. She is quite Poo. She voted in favor of the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act of 2025, which severely curbs people's ability to criticize the state of Israel. And she just returned from a trip to Israel that was funded by AIPAC during Congress's summer session. Representative Eric Swalwell co-sponsored the Israel Anti-Boycott Act of 2017, which holds corporations and cities and individuals as well liable for boycotting Israeli products. Representative LaMonica McIver, she honestly might not be on this task force for much longer. She's getting indicted currently by the Republicans in Congress for standing up against Trump's immigration raids in New Jersey. But Representative Andrew Garbarino was the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, and Benny Thompson was the former chair of the Committee on Homeland Security for quite a long time. So he's got a lot of extensive experience with the Department of Homeland Security and how to direct them effectively. But aside from this task force, we also have a White House task force on the Summer Olympics. This was just created last Tuesday on August 5th when Trump signed an executive order to create this task force. And it places Trump and all of his administration, like literally his entire cabinet, as members of this task force, with Trump being at the very head of it. This task force ties in the Department of State, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Department of Transportation, so many different federal agencies, including the Secret Service as well, which just kind of doubles down on the Secret Service's authority within the NSSE and directly places the Secret Service's authority with the Olympics under Trump's discretion. Now, this executive order explicitly states that the task force will be disbanded on December 31st, 2028, unless it is extended by the president. And this is especially concerning because we've seen Trump's behavior over the last several months. We know that he is very brazen with his power grabs and with, trying to extend his authority further than it should be. And so there's no reason to think that he would not try to extend this task force by some way, shape, or form. Now, another entity that is tied in with the Olympics is Israel. Unfortunately, Israel is everywhere. It's got its dirty little paws in a lot of different things, and the Olympics is one of those things. Israeli private security firms, which are run by former IOF soldiers and officers, have been primarily responsible for the security for a long list of mega events, and I will not read through all of these here. But you can see that it's all sporting events. It's all World Cups, it's Olympics, it's the Pan American Games, and even as recently as the 2024 Olympics, which were held in Paris, the Israeli Security Agency, also known as Shin Bet, actually sent agents to provide security for the Israeli athletes that were competing. And the reason why they needed extra security for Israeli athletes is because Israel is committing a genocide. And these athletes were representing Israel on a global stage, and they didn't want the athletes to have to deal with political dissent or protest or with any potential violence. Now, these Israeli security firms are really dangerous because they directly contribute to the cycle of oppression that Palestinians face. Israel is able to oppress Palestinians and then package up all of their settler violence and the things that they do to Palestinians and basically just create products and services to then export out to different governments and non-governmental agencies, and then money and knowledge is invested back into Israel. And one of the main culprits of this is the International Security and Defense Systems, also known as ISDS. This is a private Israeli security firm that was founded by Leo Glazer, a former IOF officer, and this company was the main contractor for the 2016 Olympics in Rio and for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And for the Rio Olympics, over 10,000 men from the Rio Olympics security forces were trained by ISDS directly. And so they were able to directly exchange all of the horrible tactics that they use within Israel against Palestinians to help out with securing the Olympics. ISDS specifically creates security plans for both governmental and non-governmental groups, and it does it on a national and international level, and they specifically specialize in global sports competition security. Yeah, the LAPD also has direct ties to the IOF. It has been coordinating with the IOF since the early 80s. LAPD chiefs and deputy chiefs have gone on multiple trips to Israel from 2002 to 2009, and Israel has actually introduced facial recognition technology and drone technology to LAPD. So they're just really exchanging racist tools and building up each other's racist toolkits, which is not fun to see. And in 2017, 8 high-ranking officials were sent to Israel to visit security firms, drone manufacturers, as well as to attend a private data conference and a specialized data conference. So this relationship has been going on for years and years. And it makes a lot of sense because they really get each other. The LAPD and the IOF, they both love overly policing, criminalizing, and killing marginalized people. It's like their whole thing. So of course they get along. Now, these two groups, as we've mentioned before, have exchanged knowledge of harmful practices, and we can see that directly. Israeli police have actually been utilizing the broken windows policing policy that LAPD is infamous for, where they are trying to target lower level petty crime in order to deter higher level, more violent crime, which doesn't make sense in any world and just contributes to more surveillance and policing of Palestinians and more surveillance and policing of residents of Los Angeles. And in fact, the knee-to-neck chokehold that was used to kill George Floyd back in 2020 was actually called out by Palestinian advocates as being a technique that the IOF uses on Palestinians and has perfected through 75 years of occupation. So yeah, our struggles are very, very much connected, and the fact that Israel is such a huge supporter of the Olympics and provides security to the Olympics. Like, we can expect for these kinds of exchanges of knowledge to really continue and to get worse. But it doesn't just end at the LAPD. ICE is very closely tied to the IOF and has been for a long time. The Anti-Defamation League hosts anti-terrorism training and has a national counterterrorism seminar that they started in 2003, and ICE officials have regularly attended since this conference first started. Another example of ICE being involved with the IOF or just having ties there is Elbit Systems for Surveillance Technology. This is an Israeli tech company that made the surveillance towers for Arizona, for southern Arizona, and the border section that is there. And you can see that actually pictured right here. And it's just terrible. This was a contract that was awarded in 2014, and they continue to use Elbit Systems as well. Celebrite as well is a universal forensics extraction hacking software that allows ICE to go through your phone, your laptop, and any electronic device that you have to look for hidden language in order to find incriminating evidence and deport people. This is especially concerning because ICE has also been targeting Palestinians and anyone who supports Palestine. On July 9th, ICE they came out and they confirmed that there had been a task force that was created specifically to remove pro-Palestinian college students from the US. And agents had combed through over 5,000 records on the Canary mission, which is a platform explicitly dedicated to doxing anyone who criticizes Israel. And this is not great. It's not great to see. We had so many different encampments in support of Palestine throughout 2024, and there are so many students that are now at risk of being doxxed or targeted or harmed. And even if you aren't a student and you just went out to support and to help out with the encampments, you could also be in danger. Now, the last company that is involved with LA 2028 is Archer Aviation. Now, Archer Aviation is a company that develops these things right here. They are called electrical vertical takeoff and landing urban aircrafts, EVTOL for short. Terrible acronym in my opinion. But Archer Aviation is an official sponsor of LA 28. It is one of the official corporate sponsors and has dedicated its services via different aircrafts that will take people to and from games and sporting events. But they have also explicitly said that they would like to provide support for emergency services and security. And this is especially concerning because Archer Aviation has a partnership with Palantir. Earlier this year, in March, Archer Aviation and Palantir announced a partnership together. Palantir, I'm sure most of us are familiar with Palantir, but if you are not, it is a company that has a long history of working with ICE and the US military. It has been awarded a lot of different government contracts in order to surveil people and in order to spy on people and collect data on people. And so Archer is specifically working with Palantir in order to more quickly develop their aircrafts and to integrate AI into their aircrafts to find the best routes and to do mapping, et cetera, et cetera. But if you know Palantir, then you know that any data that they have can be used against you. It is not likely that Palantir and Archer Aviation are just going to be using this for mapping. This is where facial recognition stuff can also get tied in, and just generally having access to different people's location, geospatial location and stuff like that. Archer is already trying to get EVTOL operations underway in Los Angeles. Their goal is to get this up and running by 2026 to prepare for the 2028 games. And they have plans to build veriports in LAX, Orange County, Santa Monica, Hollywood, Burbank, Van Nuys, and Long Beach. And so it's a really vast span of land that they are trying to build these veriports on, and it will only allow for Palantir to more easily integrate into Los Angeles. We are going to have a section for questions. I saw someone have their hand up earlier as well. So just please save your questions till the end. We're almost through this, and then we'll be able to answer any questions you have.
So we're quickly going to stop and just take stock a little bit of all of the folks who are implicated in these mega events and who's winning and who's losing. I think it's probably evident by just the groups that are included, which side is the winners and which side are the losers. The winners are people who are going to make money and profit from these games, and the losers are everybody else, which includes us. Is there any group on here that surprises you, or any group that you think is missing? Yes? I heard athletes. That surprises you? Why is that? They don't get paid a lot. That's actually, I'm so glad you said that. Athletes don't get paid a lot. They barely make any money, actually, from doing this. And they are also often at the complete behest of the country for whom they're competing, who really can regulate and sort of control all of their movements. Our comrade also mentioned earlier trans athletes and how they're getting excluded, not to mention the issues that athletes have had getting issued visas for other events here in the United States already. So those are some of the reasons why we include athletes on the list of losers. Thank you for sharing that. Someone, I heard nonprofit something said over here.
What do they gain from those foundations?
Oh, what do foundations and nonprofits gain? Thank you for that as well. As was sort of alluded to earlier in how we, or the Olympics, sort of create a special time where we start stretching laws and implementing programs that we wouldn't usually. For example, the LA 2028 Olympics were sold to us as residents as a no-build Olympics. So our pitch in trying to get the 2028 Olympics was that we don't need to build infrastructure. We already have all the stadiums. We already have all these locations. We did it in 84, excuse me. We can do it again. But what we're seeing happening now actively is that more and more, not only corporations, but also foundations and nonprofits are coming forward and saying, well, we could really help actually, but we just need like this one little thing. And so we're seeing the stretching of the original bid into an extension of other things that we're now guiding into our infrastructure under the guise of support for the Olympics. Obviously, that's not to say that every foundation and every nonprofit is, going to be able to benefit from this somehow. And I think there was, Gigi, go ahead. Go ahead.
I see workers on there, but I'm curious what you guys think about union workers.
I love that you said that. Are you thinking of the Unite Here policy that went out? Okay, I'm gonna table that just because it's kind of a longer conversation. So I'm just gonna literally have like 5 more slides, and then I'm gonna come back to you on that. Go ahead. I'll take you two, and then switch over to the next slide. Go ahead. So city agencies, this is, I think we would probably put them under winners for the reason that I kind of mentioned earlier, which is that a lot of things that various city agencies want to do on the regular kind of get to be expanded during mega events. So I'm thinking, for example, of like sweeps that we do, right? So we met with and spoke with city council and said, this is really gonna be bad, but in the end, city council voted to accept the COPSEC framework. And so now we're probably going to have increased sweeps of unhoused people. That's just like one example, right? And so that is helping us to take on something that we do frequently, regularly, which is try to pretty up the city and get people into housing, but will probably only be sort of turbocharged because of this designation that we have and allow us to run more people allegedly through the Inside Safe program, which really is not going to end up in getting more people housed. It's only going to end up getting more people off of the street and visible. Does that make sense? And, oh, who was the... Didn't you also have something, a comment? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yo solamente quiero hacer un comentario, que las fundaciones o las non-profits, ellas son las que promueven la gentrificación a veces de cierta manera, porque ellas como ganadoras reciben un fondo de los inversionistas, concejal recibe un fondo para su campaña y entonces el concejal a su vez para poder mantener a los inversionistas en su ciclo de negocio les dona a las non-profits una cantidad para sus programas que a la vez ellos presentan esos proyectos a la comunidad como si fuera un beneficio para la comunidad, sin decirles que para que ese beneficio llegue a la comunidad tienen que ser gentrificados primero. Y eso es un engaño. Por eso yo pienso de que sí, no hay una transparencia en los ganadores, más bien los perdedores, la comunidad, y siempre vamos a estar perdiendo mientras estas personas se están beneficiando de la riqueza.
So our compañera reflected, she had the comment that on the note of foundations and nonprofits, a lot of times they are getting money and they're getting money from their funders or grantors, but with a caveat that they're gentrifying the community, and then when they present benefits to the rest of the community and say, hey, we're giving you these great services and resources, it's without declaring all of the other stuff that they had to do on the side, which frequently is gentrifying the community. And so there's a lack of transparency with how these organizations are getting their funds and then using them in the community. Okay. Thank you for your comments. As we've said, we are seeing the implications of being under a national special security event designation already. One of the most salient ways has been the escalation of raids on our immigrant communities since June 6th. These raids have caused an absolute waterfall of consequences, right? So we've seen, even throughout the course of this PowerPoint, the presence of the military and other federal agencies here, which led to drops in tourism. It led in drops of international visitors. It led to small business owners, street vendors, day laborers, other folks who rely on a, economy of the moment and being able to be seen visibly to get business, losing business or not going to work at all. Curfews were put in place, which also resulted in folks being unable to leave their homes or go to their places of work. Folks were not going to groceries. They were missing appointments. And all of these things, I shouldn't be speaking in the past tense, they're still going on today, right? This shit is still happening and will be continuing as far as we can see into the future. This is the key venues map for our Olympic Games. And the text, I think up here may be a little small and blurry, but the point of the matter is that it's our entire area, right? Everyone is going to be affected. This is just the map of places where the games are actually taking place. There are a few other things marked on here, like where press and broadcast is based out of, and LAX is on there. But the point of this slide is to show that this designation is throughout this entire area. So all of the things that we spoke about having to consider as repercussions for having this mega event, these mega events in our communities, will apply to all of these places, which is throughout our entire city.
But wait, isn't LA a sanctuary city? There's been so much talk recently about the sanctuary city status of Los Angeles, especially with all of these raids going on right now. But we are a sanctuary city. We officially voted on it. LA City Council officially voted on it in November of last year, right before Trump took office earlier this year. And it explicitly prohibits any city resources, including property or personnel, from being utilized for any immigration enforcement. However, it is very clear that this NSSE designation kind of trumps this. Sorry for that use of that word. I know that's a little triggering. But yeah, it really completely outweighs the sanctuary city status. And we can see that. LAPD searched license plate readings on behalf of ICE, and they were exposed for doing that earlier in June. And they have restrained people when they intervened to prevent kidnappings. Just the other day, I even saw a whole bunch of LAPD officers outside of the Home Depot on Slauson and Fairfax with a Penske truck. And, there were a couple of federal agents kind of around as well. Like, it's very blatant. They are working together. And do our officials care? Unfortunately, they do not. As Danny mentioned earlier, NOlympics actually met with City Council in 2021 to warn them that voting for COPSEC meant inviting ICE into Los Angeles. And COPSEC is basically just the step before the NSSE designation. So this was really a crucial point that allowed us to get to where we are at now. And we had conversations with city officials or staff of city officials, and we sat in on meetings. We did everything that we could to try to inform them, and they still voted for it anyways and created the pathway to where we are now. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they don't care, but what can we do about it? Obviously, there is a lot of power in the people. That's why we're partially here at All Power Books. We do firmly believe that as organizers. And so some options, some things that you could do. NOlympics LA. Of course, you could join our coalition and join our group. We started in 2017 as a coalition including 25 groups, 25 plus groups throughout Los Angeles and California. We primarily started out working with housing and policing injustice, and we have been around for a while. We very much are always looking for people to get involved. Even if you don't want to get directly involved, it is always just nice to stay up to date. We're constantly doing work about organizing to oppose the Olympics and trying to get more information out there regarding this, so that is an option. However, you do not have to. Quite a lot of you are coalition members already, but there are other options.
I also just want to share that NOlympics, our long-term goals is to stop the LA 2028 Olympic Games, as well as to fight for a better LA, organizing around the idea of the right to the city, and also to influence media narratives and public perception about the Olympics. So that's one of the reasons why we are doing this teach-in, is to help folks understand more about what hosting mega events in general brings to the city, as well as the intersectionality of all of these issues. Because really, through all of our coalition partners, we're all fighting against the same forces, even though we may be focused more narrowly on particular issues. So in the short term, we're building a base of popular resistance to the Olympics, and we're building awareness, building coalition, building community. In these photos, you'll see some examples of NOlympics organizing internationally as well. We've worked with groups in Paris, Tokyo, Seoul, London, Salt Lake, Toronto, Rio, and some of the things that all of these Olympics have in common is that these groups are organizing not only to cancel the Olympics, but also to defund the police and the military, to decommodify public goods like housing and our public spaces, and also ensure that there's disaster relief. So we, as an organization, have taken part in multiple actions, not only here in Los Angeles and in the United States, but also traveled internationally or spoken and collaborated with other groups internationally that are organizing against the Olympics and other mega events. So if that's something that really interests you, again, we have a lot of coalition partners and a lot of you are members of our coalition. But if you really want to take a bigger role in trying to educate our base and influence the media narratives around the Olympics, then we certainly encourage you to come join us in our efforts.
Finally, we just want to plug the Community Self-Defense Coalition. Yeah, they're doing great work. Yeah, Unión del Barrio, all of the other organizations that are a part of the Community Self-Defense Coalition. It is essential that we are out on the ground to help protect our community and our neighbors, especially the closer that we get to the Olympics. And so if you are not already involved in a rapid response network, if you are not connected with the Community Self-Defense Coalition, we would highly recommend tapping into that at the very least to stand in solidarity with your neighbors as we get ready for one of the worst mega events, honestly, that we've ever seen. Like, 2028 is coming. It's only 3 years away, and the sooner that we get organized and prepared, the better off we will all be. So with that, our presentation is done. Woo. Thank you all so much. Once again, you guys are all troopers. You guys really made it through. I know it was really hard, it was long, there were technical difficulties, but we would love to now take any questions that people have. We will tap in our other comrades as well to participate in this conversation. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about the presentation, about the Olympics, anything, now is the time.